Adam's Curse by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. We sat together at one summer's end, that beautiful mild woman, your close friend, and you and I, and talked of poetry. I said, a line will take us hours maybe, yet if it does not seem a moment's thought, our stitching and unstitching has been naught. Better go down upon your marrow bones and scrub a kitchen pavement, or break stones like an old pauper in all kinds of weather. For to articulate sweet sounds together is to work harder than all these, and yet be thought an idler by the noisy set of bankers, schoolmasters, and clergymen, the martyrs called the world. That woman then murmured with her young voice, for whose mild sake there's many a one shall find out all heartache in finding that it is young and mild and low. There is one thing that all we women know, although we never heard of it at school, that we must labor to be beautiful. I said, it is certain there is no fine thing since Adam's fall but needs much laboring. There have been lovers who thought love should be so much compounded of high courtesy that they would sigh and quote with learned looks precedents out of beautiful old books, yet now it seems an idle trade enough. We sat grown quiet at the name of love. We saw the last embers of daylight die, and in the trembling blue-green of the sky a moon, worn as if it had been a shell, washed by time's waters as they rose and fell about the stars and broke in days and years. I had a thought for no one's but your ears, that you were beautiful, and that I strove to love you in the old high way of love, that it had all seemed happy, and yet we'd grown as weary-hearted as that hollow moon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Aim Was Song by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. Before man came to blow it right, the wind once blew itself untaught, and did its loudest day and night in any rough place where it caught. Man came to tell it what was wrong. It hadn't found the place to blow, it blew too hard. The aim was song, and listen how it ought to go. He took a little in his mouth, and held it long enough for north to be converted into south, and then by measure blew it forth. By measure. It was word and note. The wind had meant to be. A little through the lips and throat, the aim was song. The wind could see. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Andalusian Sereno by Francis S. Saltus. Read for LibriVox.org by leknarf. The Andalusian Sereno. With oaken staff and swinging lantern bright, he strolls at midnight, when the world is still, through dismal lanes and plazas plumed with light, guarding the drowsy thousands in Seville. Gazing upon his ever star-thronged sky, with careless step he wanders to and fro. The gloomy streets re-echo with his cry, his slow, low, sad, and dreary Sereno. He sees the blonde moon fleck with rosy towers of old Giralda with its opal sheen, and in broad alamedas warm with flowers he sees the Moorish cypress bend and lean. Then, vaguely dreaming, he recalls the nights his father passed beneath those very stars, the tales of escaladed walls, the fights, the mirth, the songs, the babble of guitars. And all his sire had told him years ago, how often, in the gardens dim and dark, he met full many a mantled Romeo, and stumbled over corpses cold and stark. But he, alas, had heard no serenade. No ladder hangs from Doña Linda's bars, and the wan glint of an assassin's blade he ne'er has seen beneath these quiet stars. So weary in the dead calm of the town, his soul regrets the past's romantic glow, while mute, despondent, pacing up and down, he sadly moans his dreary Sereno. But sometimes in the grayish light of dawn he stops and trembles in his clinging cape, for he can see a lady's curtain drawn, and in the street below a phantom shape. Draped in quaint antique garb, with sword and glove, sombrero vast, and mandolin on arm, which seems to play a weird, wild lay of love, and at his coming shows no quick alarm, but turns, and there a skeleton, all lean and haggard, leers within the lightless lane, and the Sereno knows that he has seen the spectre of the past, the ghost of Spain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Argument of His Book by Robert Herrick. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. I sing of brooks, of blossoms, birds, and bowers, of April, May, of June, and July flowers. I sing of maypoles, hock carts, wassails, wakes, of bridegrooms, brides, and of their bridal cakes. I write of youth, of love, and have access by these to sing of cleanly wantonness. I sing of dews, of rains, and piece by piece, of balm, of oil, of spice, and ambergris. I sing of time's trend shifting, and I write how roses first came red and lilies white. I write of groves, of twilights, and I sing the court of Mab and of the fairy king. I write of hell, I sing, and ever shall, of heaven, and hope to have it, after all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
August 1918, in a French village. From Poems 1914 to 1919 by Maurice Baring. Read for LibriVox.com by Dale Grothmann. August 1918. I hear the tinkling of the cattle bell in the broad stillness of the afternoon. High in the cloudless haze the harvest moon is pallid as the phantom of a shell. A girl is drawing water from a well. I hear the clatter of her wooden shoon. Two mothers to their sleeping babies croon, and the hot village feels the drowsy spell. Sleep, child. The angel of death his wings has spread. His engines scour the land, the sea, the sky, and all the weapons of hell's armory are ready for the blood that is their bread. And many 1,000 men tonight must die, so many that they will not count the dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Autumn Migration by James Thomson, 1700 to 1748. From Autumn. Read for LibriVox.org. Autumn Migration. When autumn scatters his departing gleams, warned of approaching winter, gathered, play the swallow people, and tossed wide around o'er the calm sky, in convolution swift, the feathered eddy floats, rejoicing once, ere to their wintry slumbers they retire, in clusters clung beneath the mouldering bank, and where, unpierced by frost, the cavern sweats. Or rather into warmer climes conveyed, with other kindred birds of season, there they twitter cheerful, till the vernal months invite them welcome back. For thronging now in numerous wings are in commotion all. Where the Rhine loses his majestic force in Belgian plains, won from the raging deep by diligence amazing, and the strong unconquerable hand of liberty, the stark assembly meets for many a day, consulting deep and various, ere they take their arduous voyage through the liquid sky. And now their route designed, their leaders chose, their tribes adjusted, cleaned their vigorous wings, and many a circle, many a short essay, wheel round and round, in congregation full, the figured flight ascends, and, riding high, the aerial billows mixes with the clouds. Or where the northern ocean, in vast whirls, boils round the naked melancholy isles of farthest Thule, and the Atlantic surge pours in among the stormy Hebrides. Who can recount what transmigrations there are annual made, what nations come and go, and how the living clouds on clouds arise, infinite wings, till all the plume-dark air and rude resounding shore are one wild cry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Coming of the Fog by Don Gopal Mukherjee. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Killing the light, blurring the stars, marring the breeze, nature's many-stringed harp. It comes, silently, sinisterly, over the land, over the sea, spreading its beggar raiment of brown. Without stop, without sound, over the valley like a great serpent of silence, coiling around the heart of sound. A damp insidiousness creeps into the night. A drab numbness sets in, dripping in lugubrious drops from the haggard fingers of the autumn trees. It strangles the last sound. It devours the last light, trembles in fear to see its own visage. It moves on and around, ceaselessly, untiringly, till the black night is drowned in an abyss of brown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Committee on Public Morals, from Black Beetles in Amber by Ambrose Bierce. Read for LibriVox.com by Dale Grothmann. The Senate met in Sacramento City. On public morals it had no committee, though greatly these abounded. Soon the quiet was broken by the senators in riot. Now, at the end of their contagious quarrels, there's a committee, but no public morals. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Divorce by Thomas Stanley. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Dear, back my wounded heart restore, and turn away thy powerful eyes. Flatter my willing soul no more. Love must not hope what fate denies. Take away thy smiles and kisses, thy love wounds deeper than disdain, for he that sees the heaven he misses sustains two hells of loss and pain. Shouldst thou some other's suit prefer, I might return thy scorn to thee, and learn apostasy of her who taught me first idolatry. Or in thy unrelenting breast should I disdain or coyness move, he by thy hate might be released, who now is prisoner to thy love. since then unkind fate will divorce those whom affection long united. Be thou as cruel as this force, and I in death shall be delighted. Thus whilst so many suppliants woe, and beg they may thy pity prove, I only for thy scorn do sue. 'Tis charity here, not to love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dragonfly by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I wound myself in a white cocoon of singing, all day long in the brook's uneven bed, measuring out my soul in a mucus thread. Dimly now, the brook's green bottom clinging, men behold me, a worm spun out and dead, walled in an iron house of silky singing. Nevertheless, at length, O reedy shallows, not as a plodding nose to the slimy stem, but as brazen wing with spangled hem, over the jewel-weed and the pink marshmallows, free of these and making a song of them, I shall rise, and a song of the reedy shallows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Evening Star by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. 'Twas noontide of summer, and mid-time of night, and stars in their orbits shone pale through the light of the brighter cold moon. Mid planets her slaves, herself in the heavens, her beam on the waves. I gazed awhile on her cold smile, too cold for me. There passed as a shroud a fleecy cloud, and I turned away to thee, proud evening star, in thy glory afar, and dearer thy beam shall be. For joy to my heart is the proud part thou bearest in heaven at night, and more I admire thy distant fire than that colder, lowly light. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Flea by John Donne. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. Mark but this flea, and mark in this, how little that which thou deny'st me is. It sucked me first, and now sucks thee, and in this flea our two bloods mingled be. Thou knowest that this cannot be said a sin, nor shame, nor loss of maidenhead, yet this enjoys before it woo, and pampered swells with one blood made of two, and this, alas, is more than we would do. O stay, 3 lives in one flea spare, where we almost, yea, more than married are. This flea is you and I, and this our marriage bed and marriage temple is. Though parents grudge, and you, we're met and cloistered in these living walls of jet. Though use make you apt to kill me, let not to that self-murder added be, and sacrilege, 3 sins in killing 3. Cruel and sudden, hast thou since purpled thy nail in blood of innocence? Wherein could this flea guilty be, except in that drop which it sucked from thee? Yet thou triumph'st, and sayest that thou find'st not thyself nor me the weaker now. 'Tis true, then learn how false fears be. Just so much honor, when thou yield'st to me, will waste as this flea's death took life from thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Girl of Pompeii by Edward Sanford Martin. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. A Girl of Pompeii. A public haunt they found her in. She lay asleep, a lovely child, the only thing left undefiled, where all things else bore taint of sin. Her supple outlines fixed in clay the universal law suspend, and turn time's chariot back and blend 1,000 years with yesterday. A sinless touch austere yet warm, around her girlish figure pressed, caught the sweet imprint of her breast, and held her, surely clasped, from harm. Truer than work of sculptor's art comes this dear maid of long ago, sheltered from woeful chance to show a spirit's lovely counterpart. And bid mistrustful men be sure that form shall fate of flesh escape, and quit of earth's corruptions shape itself imperishably pure. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Grasses by Alfred Kraimborg. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Who would decry instruments when grasses, ever so fragile, provide strings stout enough for insect moods to glide up and down in glissandos of toes along wires or fingertips on zithers, though the mere sounds be theirs, not ours. Theirs, not ours, the first inspiration, discord without resolution. Who would decry being loved, when even such tinkling comes of the loving? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Happiest Day by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. The happiest day, the happiest hour, my seared and blighted heart hath known, the highest hope of pride and power I feel hath flown. Of power, said I? Yes, such I ween, but they have vanished long. Alas, the visions of my youth have been, but let them pass. And pride, what have I now with thee? Another brow may even inherit the venom thou hast poured on me. Be still, my spirit. The happiest day, the happiest hour, mine eyes shall see, have ever seen, the brightest glance and power I feel have been. But were that hope of pride and power now offered with the pain, even then I felt that brightest hour I would not live again. For on its wing was dark alloy, and as it fluttered fell an essence powerful to destroy a soul that knew it well. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Inasmuch by Josephine Kermode. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. A stranger passes this way at night when the earth is laid to rest. He pauses before each cottage door like a long-expected guest. Is it only a ray of white moonlight that falls on the dewy ground? Or is it the gleam of a kingly robe that sheds such radiance round? He pauses before each cottage door when the silence is still and deep. There are souls that work and souls that rest, and souls that must watch and weep. Is it only the track of the children's feet that has furrowed the roadway there? Or is it the print of a pierced foot that was heavy with human care? Then to those who weep, and to those who sleep, and to those who watch and wake, there comes the touch of a tender hand for a suffering stranger's sake. Is it only the breath of the balsam pine that is filling the midnight vale? Or is it the balm of a healing calm that sweetens the perfumed gale? For a stranger came to these gentle souls, and a sick heart craved for rest. They gave her their love, and they gave her their care, and they gave her of all their best. Is it only the wind in the waving pines, or the sound of the distant sea? Or is it the voice of the stranger guest? Ye did it unto me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Incognita of Raphael by William Allen Butler. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Long has the summer sunlight shone on the fair form, the quaint costume, yet nameless still she sits, unknown, a lady in her youthful bloom. Fairer for this, no shadows cast their blight upon her perfect lot. Whate'er her future or her past, in this bright moment matters not. No record of her high descent there needs, nor memory of her name, enough that Raphael's colours blent to give her features deathless fame. 'Twas his anointing hand that set the crown of beauty on her brow. Still lives its early radiance yet, is at the earliest, even now. 'Tis not the ecstasy that glows in all the rapt Cecilia's grace, nor yet the holy calm repose he painted on the Virgin's face. Less of the heavens, and more of earth, there lurk within these earnest eyes, the passions that have had their birth and grown beneath Italian skies. What mortal thoughts, and cares, and dreams, what hopes, and fears, and longings rest, where falls the folded veil, or gleams the golden necklace on her breast? What mockery of painted glow may shade the secret soul within? What griefs from passion's overflow? What shame that follows after sin? Yet calm as heaven's serenest deeps are those pure eyes, those glances pure, and queenly is the state she keeps, in beauty's lofty trust secure. And who has strayed by happy chance through all those grand and pictured halls, nor felt the magic of her glance, as when a voice of music calls? Not soon shall I forget the day, sweet day in spring's unclouded time, while on the glowing canvas lay the light of that delicious clime. I marked the matchless colours wreathed on the fair brow, the peerless cheek. The lips I fancied almost breathed the blessings that they could not speak. Fair were the eyes with mine that bent upon the picture their mild gaze, and dear the voice that gave consent to all the utterance of my praise. O fit companionship of thought, O happy memories shrined apart, the rapture that the painter wrought, the kindred rapture of the heart. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Influence by Ava Gore Booth. Recording by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. Ye who would mold men's souls under your tyrannous will, and soften the tiger's heart, and make the wild deer brave, can ye then lower the crest of one most gentle wave, or shift the flowing lines of the dim absolute hill? The soul stands like a mountain strong against the cloud and storm. On the face of wave-built waters is the spirit shed, and none are formless save the indifferent lost dead, for the immortal carven spirit itself is form. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Interlude by Algernon Charles Swinburne. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. In the greenest growth of the Maytime, I rode where the woods were wet. Between the dawn and the daytime, the spring was glad that we met. There was something the season wanted, though the ways and the woods smelt sweet. The breath at your lips that panted, the pulse of the grass at your feet. You came, and the sun came after, and the green grew golden above, and the flag flowers lightened with laughter, and the meadow sweet shook with love. Your feet in the full-grown grasses moved soft as a weak wind blows. You passed me as April passes, with face made out of a rose. By the stream where the stems were slender, your bright foot paused at the sedge. It might be to watch the tender, light leaves in the springtime hedge. On boughs that the sweet month blanches with flowery frost of May, it might be a bird in the branches, it might be a thorn in the way. I waited to watch you linger, with foot drawn back from the dew, till a sunbeam straight like a finger struck sharp through the leaves at you. And a bird overhead sang follow, and a bird to the right sang here, and the arch of the leaves was hollow, and the meaning of May was clear. I saw where the sun's hand pointed, I knew what the bird's note said. By the dawn and the dewfall anointed, you were queen by the gold on your head. As the glimpse of a burned-out ember recalls a regret of the sun, I remember, forget, and remember what love saw done and undone. I remember the way we parted, the day and the way we met. You hoped we were both broken-hearted, and knew we should both forget. And May, with her world in flower, seems still to murmur and smile, as you murmured and smiled for an hour. I saw you turn at the stile. A hand like a white wood blossom, you lifted and waved and passed, with head hung down to the bosom, and pale as it seemed at last. And the best and the worst of this is, that neither is most to blame, if you've forgotten my kisses, and I've forgotten your name.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, read for LibriVox.org by Flamboyant Otter. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub-jub bird and shun the fruminous bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood awhile in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frab jistay, calloo, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lightning by Elizabeth Kuhlman, read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Who rise with me in power? I, said the king of forests, the oak so proudly waving. The dark clouds rent asunder, and from their womb the lightning rushed like a fiery serpent, enraged, asunder snapping the oak, e'en as the stripling thoughtlessly a flower. Who vies with me in power? I, said the tower, whose golden and lofty summit oft times the wandering clouds of heaven as in a veil envelop. The lightning, like a dragon, huge and fearful, roaring, bursts through the clouds and swallows, time and space deriding the haughty tower's summit. Broad streaks, like flaming torrents of blackened gold, terrific, rush down its walls resistless. With me none vie in power, it cried, and, like a diver, swift as an arrow rushing, plunged into ocean's bosom, whereon a warship proudly rode with her sails outspreading. She burns but for a moment, then in 1,000 pieces, with fearful crash exploding, she flies aloft. The fragments fall back into the ocean, and in its chasm vanish. No trace behind remaineth of all the mighty fabric. Such art thou in thine anger, attended by thy brother, the dread Invisible, beneath whose steps terrific the very earth-ball trembles. Yet not, O lightning, art thou e'er fearful and destroying. In glowing nights of summer we see thee oft illuming the distant sphere in silence. Oh, what a glorious vision the eye of man beholdeth! Whenever thus thou glowest, meseems as if the heavens unto mine eye were opened. Methinks I stand beholding the throne of God before me. Yes, more than once, O lightning, my mind the thought encompassed, that what mine eyes delighted might be the eye of Godhead, unveiled but for a moment. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Mower's Song by Andrew Marvell. Read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. My mind was once the true survey of all these meadows fresh and gay, and in the greenness of the grass did see its hopes as in a glass, when Juliana came, and she, what I do to the grass, does to my thoughts and me. But these, while I with sorrow pine, grew more luxuriant still and fine, that not one blade of grass you spied, but had a flower on either side, when Juliana came, and she, what I do to the grass, does to my thoughts and me. Unthankful meadows, could you so a fellowship so true forego, and in your gaudy May games meet, while I lay trodden under feet, when Juliana came, and she, what I do to the grass, does to my thoughts and me? But what you in compassion ought, shall now by my revenge be wrought, and flowers and grass and I and all will in one common ruin fall. For Juliana comes, and she, what I do to the grass, does to my thoughts and me. And thus ye meadows, which have been companions of my thoughts more green, shall now the heraldry become, with which I shall adorn my tomb. For Juliana came, and she, what I do to the grass, does to my thoughts and me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To My Physician by Elizabeth Kuhlman. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Physician, cease thy striving. I speak without alarm. No longer canst thou save me from death's all-grasping arm. What bloomed in spring so sweetly oft fades ere autumn's gloom. There's one time for the blossom, another for the tomb. While life with strength endows me, I'm like the nightingale who wakes with thrilling echo the forest, mead, and dale. Shall I then, like a coward, complain that death his dart hath hurled, perchance, too early, and pierced my youthful heart? Well do we know the marksman, in garb of steel arrayed, from him will naught protect us, whene'er his choice be made. Physician, strive no more then, I grieve not with alarm, thou canst not my existence save from the tyrant's arm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Nemesis by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Nemesis. Already blushes in thy cheek the bosom thought which thou must speak. The bird, how far it haply roam by cloud or isle, is flying home. The maiden fears and fearing runs into the charmed snare she shuns, and every man in love or pride of his fate is never wide. Will a woman's fan the ocean smooth, or prayers the stony parquet soothe, or coax the thunder from its mark, or tapers light the chaos dark? In spite of virtue and the muse, Nemesis will have her dues, and all our struggles and our toils tighter wind the giant coils. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Not Old, Not New by John T. McFarland. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Not old, not new. I like it not, this common view that calls the passing season old. I like it not, and will not hold the year that lies before us new. No year is old, no year is new. Time passes not on faltering feet. The days that come are not more fleet than those which pass beyond our view. Nor past nor future is remote. Time is the chord upon the lyre. The present is the point of fire at which we strike the vibrant note. Into the past run back the chords. They bear the tones of all the years. They throb with all the hopes and fears the future holds in speechless words. Life lies not in the passing hour. The silent seasons are not dead. The fountains of the soul are fed by springs which pulse with vital power. The future comes not with blank page, an empty book where may be writ the fool's mistakes and wisdom's wit. It bears the hieroglyphs of age, which we translate as best we can, the speech divine to human tongue, the wisdom neither old nor young, the secret of the life of man. Time is the atmosphere of God. Our morrows and our yesterdays are but the wind that sports and plays upon the surface of the flood. Life adds another to its rings. Love's calyx with its heart of gold will slowly in the light unfold, for God is in the soul of things. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Train by Harriet Monroe. Read for LibriVox.org by Anita Sloma-Martinez on June 16, 2019. From Notes of Travel, Section 1. The lady in front of me in the car, with little red coils close over her ears, is talking with her friend, and the circle of ostrich foam around her hat, curving over like a wave, trembles with her little windy words. What is she saying, I wonder, that her feathers should tremble, and the soft fur of her coat should slip down over her shoulders? Has her string of pearls been stolen? Or maybe her husband? Section 2. He is drunk, that man, drunk as a lord of the bibulous past. He shouts wittily from his end of the car to the man in the corner. He bows to me with chivalrous apologies. He philosophizes, plays with the wisdom of the ages, flings off his rags, displays his naked soul, athletic, beautiful, grotesque. In the good time coming, when men drink no more, shall we never see a nude soul dancing stripped and free in the temple of his God? Section 3. She comes smiling into the car with iridescent bubbles of children. She blooms in the close plush seats like a narcissus in a bowl of stones. She croons to a baby in her lap. The trees come swinging by to listen, and the electric lights in the ceiling are stars. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pentecost by Horatius Bonar. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The Master hath his word fulfilled, and though we are still far from home, the days of orphanage are past, the Comforter has come. The promise of the Father now descends, our lips no more are dumb, the rushing mighty wind is heard, the Comforter has come. The true enlightener of the dark, of heavenly gifts the sole and sum, the mighty quickener of the dead, the Comforter has come. The breath from the four winds of heaven that breathes into the awful tomb, the resurrection breath of God, the Comforter has come. Midnight has blossomed into morn, for gladness we exchange our gloom. The joy unspeakable is ours, the Comforter has come. Our fetters break, our burdens fall, fresh rays from heaven our souls illume. Our prison bars lie broken round, the Comforter has come. Now we are strong for service high, for toil or pain or martyrdom. Now we can face the sword or fire, the Comforter has come. Now we are nerved for holy fight, for longer life or earlier doom. Our helmet, shield, and sword are on, the Comforter has come. The fire from heaven descends in power, our dross forever to consume. In holy liberty we walk, the Comforter has come. The south wind blows, the kindly sun ripens our garden's summer bloom, and hangs the fruit upon our boughs. The Comforter has come. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Petty Larceny by Ava Gore Booth. Recording by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. Lived a man who was wont to steal oysters for his daily meal. He broke them open with a stone and ate them on the shore alone. One day he had not strength enough, or else the shell was very tough. He struggled till he sprained his wrist. E'en then the knave did not desist, but forced the oyster open wide, and found a glorious pearl inside. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Portrait by a Neighbour by Enna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Eva Davis. Before she has her floor swept or her dishes done, any day you'll find her a sunning in the sun. It's long after midnight, her keys in the lock, and you never see her chimney smoke till past 10 o'clock. She digs in her garden with a shovel and a spoon. She weeds her lazy lettuce by the light of the moon. She walks up the walk like a woman in a dream. She forgets she borrowed butter and pays you back cream. Her lawn looks like a meadow, and if she mows the place, she leaves the clover standing and the Queen Anne's lace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Primrose by Robert Herrick. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Ask me why I send you here, the sweet infanta of the year. Ask me why I send to you this primrose, thus bepearled with dew. I will whisper to your ears, the sweets of love are mixed with tears. Ask me why this flower does show so yellow-green and sickly too. Ask me why the stalk is weak and bending, yet it doth not break. I will answer. These discover what fainting hopes are in a lover. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rule Britannia by James Thomson, 1700 to 1748. Read for LibriVox.org. When Britain first at heaven's command arose from out the azure main, this was the charter of the land, and guardian angels sang this strain: Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The nations not so blessed as thee must in their turn to tyrants fall, while thou shalt flourish great and free, the dread and envy of them all. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. Still more majestic shall thou rise, more dreadful from each foreign stroke, as the loud blast that tears the skies serves but to root thy native oak. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. Thee haughty tyrants ne'er shall tame, all their attempts to bend thee down will but arouse thy generous flame, but work their woe and thy renown. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. To thee belongs the rural reign, thy cities shall with commerce shine, all thine shall be the subject main, and every shore its circles thine. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. The Muses, still with freedom found, shall to thy happy coast repair, blest isle, with matchless beauty crowned, and manly hearts to guard the fair. Rule Britannia, rule the waves, Britons never will be slaves. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Shut Out by Ava Gore Booth. Recording by Mike Overby, Midland, Washington. 'Twas hard to bear, for years to wander thus and wait, amid pale shadows of half-real despair, in the dull road outside the ivory gate. All round my feet the pansies grew, nodding their wise heads to and fro. Mocking faces, golden blue, seemed to whisper, no, 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 no thoroughfare. How strange it seems, now round me poppies blossom red, low at my feet the river gleams, great beech boughs rustle overhead. Pansies, you mocked me all in vain, light flowers who did not understand. Fade on outside, I live again, and labor in the magic land of light and dreams. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 129 by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston, Tharp. The expense of spirit and a waste of shame is lust and action. Until action, lust is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust. Enjoyed no sooner, but despised it straight. Past reason hunted, and no sooner had, past reason hated. As a swallowed bait on purpose laid to make the taker mad, mad in pursuit and in possession so. Had, having, and in quest to have extreme. A bliss in proof, and proved a very woe. Before, a joy proposed, behind, a dream. All this the world well knows, yet none knows well to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet 29 by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. When, in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least, yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate, for thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Spring Rain by James Thomson, 1700 to 1748. From the Seasons, Spring. Read for LibriVox.org. Spring Rain. The northeast spends his rage. He now shut up within his iron cave. The effluvent south warms the wide air, and over the void of heaven breeze the big clouds with vernal showers distant. At first a dusky wreath they seem to rise, scarce staining ether, but by swift degrees, in heaps on heaps, the doubling vapor sails along the loaded sky, and mingling deep sits on the horizon round a settled gloom. Not such as wintry storms on mortals shed, oppressing life, but lovely, gentle, kind, and full of every hope and every joy, the wish of nature. Gradual sinks the breeze into a perfect calm, that not a breath is heard to quiver through the closing woods, or rustling turn the many twinkling leaves of aspen tall. The uncurling floods, diffused in glassy breath, seem through delusive lapse forgetful of their course. 'Tis silence all and pleasing expectation. Herbs and flocks drop their dry sprig, and mute imploring eye the falling verdure. Hushed in short suspense, the plumy people streak their wings with oil, to throw the lucid moisture trickling off, and wait the approaching sign to strike at once into the general choir. Even mountains, vales, and forests seem impatient to demand the promised sweetness. Man superior walks amid the glad creation, musing praise and looking lively gratitude. At last the clouds consign their treasures to the fields, and, softly shaking on the dimpled pool prelusive drops, let all their moisture flow in large effusion o'er the freshened world. The stealing shower is scarce to patter heard by such as wander through the forest walks, beneath the umbrageous multitude of leaves. But who can hold the shade while heaven descends in universal bounty, shedding herbs and fruits and flowers on nature's ample lap? Swift fancy fired anticipates their growth, and, while the milky nutriment distils, beholds the kindling country color round. Thus all day long the full distended clouds indulge their genial stores, and well showered earth is deep enriched with vegetable life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Storm in the Mountains by Charles Harper. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. A lonely boy, far venturing from home, Out on the half-wild herd's faint tracks I roam, Mid rock-brown mountains, which with stony frown Glare into haggard chasms deep adown. A rude and craggy world. The prospect lies Bounded in circuit by the bending skies. Now at some clear pool, scooped out by the shocks Of rain floods plunging from the upper rocks, Whose liquid disk in its undimpled rest Glows like a mighty gem broaching the mountain's breast. I drink and must, or mark the wide-spread herd, Or list the thinking of the dingle bird. And now towards some wild hanging shade I stray, To shun the bright oppression of the day. For round each crag, and o'er each bosky swell, The fierce refracted heat flares visible, Lambently restless, like the dazzling hem Of some else viewless veil held trembling over them. Why congregate the swallows in the air, And northward then in rapid flight repair? With sudden swelling din, remote yet harsh, Why roar the bullfrogs in the tea-tree marsh? Why cease the locusts to throng up in flight, And clap their gay wings in the fervent light? Why climb they, bodingly demure, instead The tallest spear-grass to the bending head? Instinctively, along the sultry sky, I turn a listless yet inquiring eye, And mark that now, with slow gradual pace, A solemn trance creeps northward o'er its face. Yon clouds that late were laboring past the sun, Reached by its sure arrest, one after one, Come to a heavy halt. The airs that played About the rugged mountains all are laid, While drawing nearer, far off heights appear, As in a dream's wild prospect strangely near, Till into wood resolves their robe of blue, And the gray crags rise bluffly on the view. Such are the signs and tokens that presage A summer hurricane's forthcoming rage. At length the south sends out her cloudy heaps, And up the glens at noontime dimness creeps. The birds, late warbling in the hanging green, Off steep-set brakes seek now some safer screen. The herd, in doubt, no longer wanders wide, But fast ingathering throngs yon mountain's side, Whose echoes, surging to its tramp, might seem The muttered troubles of some Titan's dream. Fast the dim legions of the muttering storm Throng denser, or protruding columns form, While splashing forward from their cloudy lair Convolving flames like scouting dragons glare. Low thunders follow, laboring up the sky, And as forerunning blasts go blaring by, At once the forest, with a mighty stir, Bows, as in homage to the thunderer. Hark! From the dingoes' blood-polluted dens, In the gloom-hidden chasms of the glens, Long fitful howls wail up, and in the blast Strange hissing whispers seem to huddle past, As if the dread stir had aroused from sleep Weird spirits, cloistered in yon cavey steep, On which, in the grim past, some Cain's offence Hath haply outraged heaven, who rising thence, Wrapped in the boding vapours, laughed again To wanton in the wild-willed hurricane. See in the storm's front, sailing dark and dread, A wide-winged eagle like a black flag spread. The clouds aloft flash doom, short stops his flight, He seems to shrivel in the blasting light. The air is shattered with a crashing sound, And he falls stone-like, lifeless to the ground. Now like a shadow at great Nature's heart The turmoil grows. Now wonder with a start marks where right overhead the storm careers, Girt with black horrors and wide flaming fears. Arriving thunders, mustering on his path, Swell more and more the roarings of his wrath, As out in widening circles they extend, and then at once in utter silence end. Portentous silence. Time keeps breathing past, yet it continues. May this marvel last? This wild, weird silence in the midst of gloom, so manifestly big with coming doom, tingles the boding ear, and up the glens instinctive dread comes howling from the wild dogs' dens. Terrific vision, heaven's great ceiling splits, and a vast globe of writhing fire emits, which pouring down in one continuous stream spans the black concave like a burning beam. A moment, then from end to end it shakes with a quick motion and in thunder breaks. Peal rolled on peal, while heralding the sound at each concussion thrills the solid ground. Fierce glares coil, snake-like, round the rocky wens of the red hills, or hiss into the glens, or thick through heaven like flaming falchions swarm, cleaving the teeming cisterns of the storm, from which rain torrents, searching every gash, split by the blast, comes sheeting with a dash. On yon grey peak, from rock-encrusted roots, the mighty patriarch of the wood upshoots, in whose proud spreading tops imperial height the mountain eagle loveth most to light. Now dimly seen through the tempestuous air, his forms seemed harrowed by a mad despair, as with his ponderous arms uplifted high, he wrestles with the storm and threshes at the sky. A swift bolt hurtles through the lurid air, another thundering crash, the peak is bare. Huge hurrying fragments all around are cast, the wild-winged, mad-limbed monsters of the blast. The darkness thickens, with despairing cry, from shattering boughs the rain-drenched parrots fly. Loose rocks roll rumbling from the mountains round, and half the forest strews the smoking ground. To the bared crags the blasts now wilder moan, and the caves labour with a ghostlier groan. Wide-ranging torrents down the gorges flow, swift bearing with them to the vale below those sylvan wrecks that littered late the path of the loud hurricane's all-trampling wrath. The storm is past, yet booming on afar is heard the rattling of the thunder-car, and that low muffled moaning as of grief, which follows with the wood-sigh wide and brief. The clouds break up, the sun's forth-bursting rays clothe the wet landscape with a dazzling blaze. The birds begin to sing a lively strain, and merry echoes ring it o'er again. The clustered herd is spreading out to graze, through lessening torrents still 100 ways flash downward, and from many a rock ledge a mantling gush comes quick and shining o'er the edge. 'Tis evening, and the torrent's furious flow runs gentlier now into the lake below. O'er all the freshened scene no sound is heard, save the short twitter of some busied bird, or a faint rustle made amongst the trees by wasting fragments of a broken breeze. Along the wild and wreck-strewed paths I wind, watching earth's happiness with quiet mind, and see a beauty all unmarked till now, flushing each flowery nook and sunny brow. Wished peace, returning like a bird of calm, brings to the wounded world its blessed healing balm. On nerveless, tuneless lines how sadly ringing rhymes may wasted be, while blank verse oft is mere prose madly striving to be poetry, while prose that's craggy as a mountain may Apollo's sun-robe don, or hold the wellspring of a fountain bright as that in Helicon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Summer by John Clare. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Come we to the summer, to the summer we will come, for the woods are full of bluebells, and the hedges full of bloom. The crow is on the oak, a building of her nest, and love is burning diamonds in my true lover's breast. She sits beneath the whitethorn, a plaiting of her hair, and I will to my true lover with a fond request repair. I will look upon her face, I will in her beauty rest, and lay my aching weariness upon her lovely breast. The clock o' clay is creeping on the open bloom of May, a merry bee is trampling the pinky threads all day, and the chaffinch, it is brooding on its grey mossy nest, in the whitethorn bush, where I will lean upon my lover's breast. I'll lean upon her breast, and I'll whisper in her ear, that I cannot get a wink o' sleep for thinking of my dear. I hunger at my meat, and I daily fade away, like the hedge-rose that is broken in the heat of the day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Talent and Art by Elizabeth Kuhlman. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgatenovelist. Innate in man is talent, though not enough for art. Be fame the goal thou choosest, so play an earnest part. Thou must with warm endeavour e'er watch for beauty's trace, that truth and nature daily may lend thee newer grace. Though difficult, as much is on earth, it may be done. I will reigns o'er, I cannot, when courage spurs us on. The sunbeam's grave and cradle, the isle enamelled main, its distance who shall measure from heaven's starry plain? Yet at one point before us, upon the ocean's breast, we see with inward rapture the azure heavens rest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To the River by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Elaine Conway, England. Fair river, in thy bright, clear flow of crystal, wandering water, thou art an emblem of the glow of beauty, the unhidden heart, the playful maziness of art in old Alberto's daughter. But when within thy wave she looks, which glistens then and trembles, why, then the prettiest of brooks her worshipper resembles. For in his heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies, his heart which trembles at the beam of her soul-searching eyes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
'Twas the night before Christmas. A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement C. Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Montana Bob. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A poem from William Blake's An Island on the Moon, read for LibriVox.org by Kevin S. When old Corruption first begun, adorned in yellow vest, he committed on flesh a whoredom. Oh, what a wicked beast! From there a callow babe did spring, and old Corruption smiled to think his race should never end, for now he had a child. He called him Surgery, and fed the babe with his own milk, for flesh and he could ne'er agree, she would not let him suck. And this he always kept on mind, and formed a crooked knife, and ran about with bloody hands to seek his mother's life. And as he ran to seek his mother, he met with a dead woman. He fell in love and married her, a deed that is not common. She soon grew pregnant and brought forth scurvy and spotted fever. The father grinned and skipped about and said, "I'm made forever. For now I have procured those imps, I'll try experiments." With that he tied poor scurvy down, and stopped up all its fence. And when the child began to swell, he shouted out aloud, "I've found the dropsy out, and soon shall do the world more good." He took up fever by the neck, and cut out all its spots, and through the holes which he had made, he first discovered guts. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Upland by Henry A. Beers. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. We often go a-driving across the pleasant land, in summer through the pine woods dark or by the ocean strand. But when the orchards blossom and when the apples fall, we seek the high hill country that props the mountain wall. Old farms with mussed stone fences, old grassy roads that wind forever on and upward to higher fields behind, by ancient bush-grown pastures bestrewn with boulders gray, and lonely meadow slopes that bear thin crops of upland hay. As terrace over terrace we climb the mountain stair, more solitary grow the ways, more wild the farms and rare, and slenderer in their rocky beds the singing brooks that go down slipping to the valley stream 1,000 feet below. Above us and above us still the grim escarpments rise, till homeward we must turn at last, or ere the daylight dies, and leave unscaled the summit height, the even ridge o'erhead, where smoulder through the cedar screen the sunset embers red. What should we see if once we won on that top step to stand? A wondrous valley world beyond a far-stretched table-land. Almost it seems as though there lay the threshold of the sky, and that the foot which crossed that sill would enter heaven thereby. And when, dear heart, the years have left us once again alone, and from our empty nest the broods have scattered forth and flown, shall we not have the old horse round, and take the well-known track into the high hill country, and never more come back?
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Walrus and the Carpenter by Lewis Carroll. Read for LibriVox.org by Montana Bob. The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright, and this was odd, because it was the middle of the night. The moon was shining sulkily, because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. It's very rude of him, she said, to come and spoil the fun. The sea was wet, as wet could be. The sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud, because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead. There were no birds to fly. The Walrus and the Carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If this were only cleared away, they said, it would be grand. If 7 maids with 7 mops swept it for half a year, do you suppose, the Walrus said, that they could get it clear? I doubt it, said the Carpenter, and shed a bitter tear. O oysters, come and walk with us, the Walrus did beseech. A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk, along the briny beach. We cannot do more with 4 to give a hand to each. The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed. But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for the treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd, because, you know, they hadn't any feet. 4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4, and thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore. The Walrus and the Carpenter walked on a mile or so, and then they rested on a rock conveniently low. And all the little oysters stood and waited in a row. The time has come, the Walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. But wait a bit, the oysters cried, before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath, and all of us are fat. No hurry, said the Carpenter. They thanked him much for that. A loaf of bread, the Walrus said, is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed. But not on us, the oysters cried, turning a little blue. After such kindness, that would be a dismal thing to do. The night is fine, the Walrus said. Do you admire the view? It was so kind of you to come, and you are very nice. The Carpenter said nothing but, cut us another slice. I wish you were... Not quite so deaf I've had to ask you twice. It seems a shame, the walrus said, to play them such a trick, after we brought them out so far and made them trot so quick. The carpenter said nothing, but the butter spread too thick. I weep for you, the walrus said, I deeply sympathize. With sobs and tears he sorted out those of the largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his streaming eyes. "Oh, oysters," said the carpenter, "you've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again?" But answer came there none, and this was scarcely odd, because they'd eaten every one. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wild Swans by Anna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Eva Davis. I looked into my heart while the wild swans went over. And what did I see I had not seen before? Only a question less or a question more. Nothing to match the flight of wild birds flying. Tiresome heart, forever living and dying, house without air. I leave you and lock your door. Wild swans, come over the town again, trailing your legs and crying. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wounded, from Poems 1914 to 1919, by Maurice Baring. Read for LibriVox.com by Dale Grothmann. The Wounded. The wounded lie and groan upon the plain, and one there is for whom it is vain to lift. So give him water, it is the last gift, and very soon he shall not thirst again. All white and gold, the chief with a troop of horse trots by. The soldier opens smiling eyes, and at the last gasp of life he cries, "Long live!" with all his feeble, flickering force. Before he said his say, he died content. And we, the wounded on life's battlefield, enrolled and sent to war to fight and die, when conquered by our mortal wound, we cry, "Long live!" obedient to our sacrament, when God with all his universe rides by. Manchuria, 1904. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.